$36 million, one rookie, one injured rookie who missed significant playing time, and she still moved more than a quarter of the entire WNBA's economic output for the season. That number isn't what's wild. What's wild is that Nike saw it, documented it on camera, and buried the real message so deep inside a commercial that almost nobody caught it. Today, you and I are going to decode what they actually built, and why the spring 2026 shoe launch is far bigger than anyone is treating it. Because this wasn't a commercial about basketball. This was a business announcement dressed as a hype video. And once you see the architecture underneath it, the entire trajectory of women's sports snaps into focus. Nike's commercial opens with celebrities expressing doubt. Caitlin responds with shots. Simple structure, right? Standard athlete empowerment narrative. But many of you watching closely noticed something felt different about it. You were on to something. The commercial isn't documenting her shooting range. It's documenting a pattern, one that Nike plans to replicate across every business decision they've tied to her name. If you're already seeing what's coming, hit that like button and let's keep pulling this thread. The origin story Nike chose to center, that Iowa driveway, wasn't a sentimental choice. It was a strategic one. Caitlin Clark's father poured new concrete on a slanted surface so his daughter could paint a regulation three-point line. She wasn't asking for convenience. She was removing a flaw from her development environment. That distinction between adapting to limitations and eliminating them is the entire operating thesis Nike built this brand around. A slanted driveway changes everything about how a shooter develops. Ball trajectory shifts. Release point adjusts. Muscle memory builds around compensation rather than precision. Most players learn to work with the imperfect surface. Caitlin refused to accept the environment as a fixed variable. Her father recognized it wasn't a request for luxury. It was a demand for correct conditions at age 4. That philosophy followed her through every transition. High school coaches warned that college defenses would neutralize her range. College analysts predicted WNBA veterans would expose her shot selection. Opposing coaches spent entire film sessions constructing containment schemes for one guard her at 28 feet, she drives past, respect the drive, she pulls from the logo. The defensive math became impossible, not because she was faster or stronger than everyone else, but because she'd spent thousands of hours on that driveway building comfort from distances most players had never practiced. That pattern, doubt presented, doubt destroyed through execution, never through argument, is exactly what Nike structured their entire commercial around. The celebrities in that ad aren't random talent. They represent every coach, analyst, and media voice that questioned whether her game would translate at each new level. Her response in the ad mirrors her response in real life. No rebuttal, just results. Nike didn't film a commercial. They filmed a proof of concept document for investors, sponsors, and broadcast partners to watch. And the proof came with receipts. That $36 million economic impact figure isn't a marketing projection. Economists tracked real transactions. Hotels in cities she visited reported sellouts they'd never seen for WNBA games. Restaurants near arenas doubled normal business on game nights. Merchandise vendors hit numbers previously reserved for playoff runs. Parking revenue spiked. And this happened while she was recovering from a groin injury, missing games, still learning how professional defenses operate. The full WNBA, 12 teams, hundreds of players, decades of institutional history, generated roughly $133 million in total economic impact that same season. One rookie accounted for more than a quarter of that. Not at full health, not in a complete season. That's the number Nike kept returning to internally, because that number answers every question a corporate board can ask about risk. Here's where this investigation gets more interesting than anything the commercial showed on the surface. Drop your read on this in the comments. Did you see this as a business move or just a great ad? Because what Nike did with that data changes the entire signature shoe conversation. Television networks noticed within weeks of her debut. Games featuring the Fever drew viewership numbers that rivaled NBA regular season matchups. Advertisers who'd never considered WNBA inventory suddenly competed for commercial spots during her broadcasts. Streaming platforms reported record engagement. Social media metrics moved in ways the league had never measured. And Nike watched all of it with the particular attention of an organization that already knew what it was looking at. Because Nike CEO Elliott Hill confirmed something that wasn't in any press release. They're building this shoe with her, not for her. Logo decisions, design choices, distribution strategy, Caitlin influences all of it. And her primary requirement shattered every expectation. She rejected the traditional signature shoe playbook entirely. No limited releases. No artificial scarcity. No collector pricing that puts the shoe out of reach for the exact kids who need it most. Think about what she was pushing against. Jordan Brand built a multi-billion-dollar empire on exclusivity. LeBron's line runs the same model. Release special editions, build waiting lists, let secondary markets drive prices into collector territory. Sneakerheads camp outside stores. Resale markets treat shoes as investment instruments. That playbook generates massive per-unit margins and cultural moments that dominate headlines. Nike's own board initially resisted her direction. Then they ran the numbers she was actually proposing. Broader distribution means volume. Volume, at accessible price points, compensates for the reduced per-unit margin. And creating lifetime customers starting at age 8, in communities where women's basketball barely exists yet, generates more long-term brand value than selling limited editions to collectors who never touch a court. Industry projections are already placing her line in top 5 signature franchise potential across all basketball categories, male or female. 9-figure revenue territory. If that kind of analysis is what keeps you coming back here, consider joining the channel as a member. Your support is what makes it possible to keep going deeper on the stories other channels summarize and move past. She also pushed for global distribution from day one, not as a test market and not as an afterthought. The China focus in the commercial wasn't decorative. Nike operates massive manufacturing and retail infrastructure throughout Asia, but women's basketball signature shoes have almost never penetrated those markets in a meaningful way. Caitlin demanded that her shoe launch internationally as a core strategy, because she understands that visibility without reach is just noise. Her shoe philosophy mirrors her playing philosophy. Don't respect the boundary. Eliminate it. Now here's the business move that most people missed entirely. Nike deliberately slowed the launch. Every marketing playbook says capitalize on momentum immediately. Rookie of the Year. Launch the shoe. Record viewership. Launch the shoe. Pressure from retail partners, investors, and Nike's own board all pointed toward an immediate release while her name dominated headlines. Instead, they chose spring 2026. 18 months after her WNBA debut, that delay is the most telling signal in this entire story. Nike spent obsessive time studying Michael Jordan's trajectory before launching Air Jordan 1. They studied LeBron's arc. His first signature shoe came after Nike had already positioned him as a generational figure through years of narrative building. Every signature shoe that became a cultural franchise followed the same pattern. The timing mattered more than the hype. Caitlin's delay follows identical logic. Her rookie season proved the concept. Her second season, where defenders arrived with a full off-season of film study, where novelty had time to fade, where the test was sustainability rather than explosion, provides the confirmation Nike needs before committing to a multi-year global franchise. By spring 2026, 2 full seasons of verified economic data exist. Television ratings tracked across multiple years. Audience growth documented through sustained metrics rather than isolated spikes. And a sophomore season that proved her impact doesn't disappear when defenses adjust. That's not a shoe launch. That's a franchise activation on prepared ground. The commercial's genius is that it operates on 2 levels simultaneously. Casual fans see a clean hype video with celebrity cameos and great shots. Anyone actually studying how women's sports economics work sees a business roadmap, proof presented to sponsors that the audience is real. to broadcasters that the ratings are sustainable, to international markets that the demand is already established. Nike didn't argue that women's basketball deserves investment. They showed the receipts and let the math speak. Caitlin Clark's journey from that slanted Iowa driveway isn't just a compelling origin story. It's the operating framework for the most strategically patient brand build in women's sports history. The $36 million wasn't a ceiling. It was the foundation. The accessible shoe pricing isn't a margin sacrifice, it's a market expansion play. The delayed launch timing isn't hesitation, it's positioning. Women's basketball is entering territory previously reserved for men's sports. Global branding, franchise-level signature lines, billion-dollar cultural footprints. And Nike just told us exactly when and how they're moving. Subscribe and hit the bell. The next piece of this story. What happens when the shoe actually drops and whether the WNBA's infrastructure can support the commercial wave Nike is building toward is coming. Don't be the last one to see it.